The crazy part about the whole thing is, I didn't even realize I was burnt all of the way out until I started making my way out of it. What's up, everybody? It's your favorite pirate captain. It's your favorite goddess king. It's your favorite auntie, uncle. It's your favorite hood healer, high priestess, spiritual dominatrix, LadySpeech in the place to be. And I want to welcome you back to my channel. You could be anywhere in the world. As a matter of fact, you are somewhere in the world. And you're also choosing to share a little bit of time and space with me. So thank you, thank you, thank you for that. If you like what I'm doing, if you like what you see, if you're feeling any of this, if you're feeling any of me, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notifications bell so you can keep up with all of my shenanigans and happenings, goings ups and goings downs, and everything in between. Now, let's just hop on into today's video, shall we? This video right here. This video right here is inspired by an epiphany I recently had when I came back from a refreshing, replenishing, soul-satisfying trip from Denver, Colorado. And that epiphany was quite simply, I didn't realize that I was burnt out until I was making my way out of that burnout. So in this video, we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about how easy it was for me to miss it. And we're also gonna talk about all of the things that I was consciously and unconsciously doing. 3 things to be exact. We're gonna hone in on 3 things to be exact that I was doing consciously and unconsciously to respond to the burnout that I wasn't acknowledging, and how those 3 things helped me to make my way out of that burnout. So let's get into it. So let's talk about the burnout and how I got there. 17 years old, I left 18, I left my house and I became an activist. I immediately went to work in my community. And I stayed at work in my community. And I did that from 17 years old till now. For over 25 years in my community, I've put in work. I've put in work. I've put in work. From college campuses to middle school campuses to high school campuses to homeless shelters to non-for-profits to being picked by nationwide programs to travel across the country lobbying and advocating for youth voices. I've been at work in my community since I was a child, since I was 17 years old. From fighting back against gentrification, to being a healer for the homeless and for sex workers, to standing in the gap for people who are not listened to. I have been at work for, with, and within my community for 25 years, tirelessly. No breaks, no stops. I have been relentlessly focused on my healing and the healing of my community. And that, my friends, is how I got there. That, my friends, is how I reached burnout. I've been so focused on helping. I've been so focused on healing. And I'm not going to say that I haven't had a good life, because I have. Things have been real fun over here. I've managed to create a wild existence for myself that I am proud of. My legacy is wild. It's beautiful. It's all over the place. It's random. It's great. I've done some really great, wonderful things. And I'm happy with my life. I'm not going to say I'm not happy with what I have done. But even though I had a good time, even though I've experienced some really great things, most of those things were through the lens of service. Most of those things were through the lens of how can I be a better person for the people around me, for my village? How can I be a better leader? How can I be a better friend? How can I be a better lover? How can I be a better village member in every shape, form, and capacity? A soul gets tired after a while, especially when a soul has no brakes. I didn't realize when I made the move to Ohio how important this was going to be for me and how integral and instrumental this move was towards my healing. I didn't realize when I was moving that I was giving myself the gift of time and space. I didn't realize how much I needed aloneness. Not loneliness, but aloneness. For over 20 years in my community, I have given all of myself. I don't know how to half-ass that. I don't know how to give anything less than 100%. And so for over 20 years, I gave, and I gave. And you know what I wasn't good at doing? Requiring energetic reciprocity. And within the last 10 years, I've learned to value myself. You will notice that I oftentimes, especially during the readings or when I am doing a video that is for that, especially when it's around asked for education, I'm very quick to let folks know my Venmo, my PayPal, my Cash App. I'm very quick to let people know this is how you can repay me for the labor that I'm doing. I recognize that. I've recognized that, and I began to recognize that about 10 years ago. And I began to retrain my community to show reciprocity for me financially. But it has taken me a long time to realize that energetically, I wasn't making people pay me back. Energetically, I wasn't requiring support. Energetically, I wasn't requiring reciprocity. So that's exactly what I got. I didn't get reciprocity. I didn't get mutual aid. I was often used. So it was easy for me to not see the burnout. It was easy for me to just keep going and walking on these paths with no breaks because I enjoy the work. I enjoy the results of the healing. I look back on my path, I am a completely different person, and I have avoided becoming the worst person because I have focused on my healing. I have lived a full life. From pursuing my artistry, I was in a Lady Wu cover band. Baby, we covered Wu-Tang. I have traveled because of my talent. I've been flown out to places because of my skills. I've had a full life. I've done great things. Because of that, it was so easy. It was so easy. It was so easy just to keep going and not check in. Though the life that I was living before was beautiful, it was absolutely positively unsustainable. And the way that I was giving my energy and not requiring reciprocity, that was slowly killing me. But I'm not there anymore. As you're watching this video, you are watching someone who is coming all the way out of that. And now we're going to get into the 3 things that I did subconsciously that helped me move away and out of burnout. First and foremost, before we get into these 3 things, what I do want to say is shout out to my previous healing. Shout out to my former self. Shout out to the positive coping mechanisms I have picked up throughout the years that have helped me navigate through this. Even though I wasn't acknowledging for the past 3 years that I've been burnt out and I've been in a burnout space, I was still doing things. I was still engaging in positive coping mechanisms. I was still doing and engaging in healthy healing, and that has helped me to navigate this. And all of that healing and all of those coping mechanisms have helped me to be in a position where I am now, to name it, to call it, so that we can firmly move on out of it. So shout out to my former self for the healing work I've done that has carried me through and will continue to carry me through. So the first thing I did to allow myself to come out of burnout, quite simple. I rested. I rested. I rested. When I got to Ohio over a year and a half ago, I had every plan to hit the ground running. And then a real dear friend of mine, two sisters of mine, were brutally taken from me and our community in a massive shooting. That happened 7 days after I moved to Ohio. I spent the first 7 months of the first year in Ohio going back and forth between Denver, Colorado, death dueling my community and myself. When I tell you my soul was tired, my soul was tired. I slept, I sat, and I laid down so very much. And I'd been doing that before I left Colorado. I was starting to take more naps. Even though I was getting up earlier, I was starting to go to bed earlier. I was starting to just do more restful and replenishing things. But when I got to Ohio, my body and my spirit forced me to lay it down. I laid down so much. I rested so much. And in the beginning of that, I'm not gonna say that I was comfortable with it. I was actually super uncomfortable with how much I was laying down, but I couldn't do anything but. And eventually I was like, you're gonna have to make peace with this because you can't get up out this bed. At first I thought it was a symptom of depression. But then when I really just allowed myself to be and sit with it, it wasn't depression. I just needed to rest. I needed to sit. So that's what I did. It took me a couple months, but I finally got okay with letting myself just rest. And I had to really get on myself about making sure that I had to reinforce the thought in my brain that my productivity is not an indication of my worth. I struggled with that. There were days when I wanted to be so very productive, when I wanted to do all the things, and really the only thing that got accomplished was getting dressed, eating, and that's it. I wanted to make all the content. I wanted to do all of the videos, and there were days where I was like, you have the energy to get up, you have the energy to wash your behind, you have the energy to eat some food, and that's all we got. And then you're gonna take your ass right on back to bed. Resting. Even though I did struggle with it in the beginning, towards the middle and the end, when I finally just submitted, Lord, that helped that burnout move so much faster. It helped that burnout move. I was moving so much further and faster when I just finally submitted and said, rest yourself. Number 2, I respected my no. I respected my no. Had I lived in Colorado, I would have been asked for so much by so many different people. And I would have said yes. And I would have tried my very best to meet everyone's needs, especially that first year. That first year that I moved to Ohio, had everything gone down like it had gone down, I would have more than likely given to my community to the point of detriment to me. I wouldn't have said no as much as I needed to. Being in Ohio, being isolated from my community, number 1, I just physically wasn't available. And number 2, because of that distance, I was able to honor my no a lot quicker and faster. And that process for me really was about becoming way more mindful. Because of the rest that I was getting, I was able to start identifying places within my body that needed attention. I was starting to identify where my body was for all intents and purposes, beginning to break down. I was starting to identify the gaps in my health and the places where I had been neglecting my body for years. And because I was getting more in tune with my body, because I was getting more in tune with my spirit, because I was getting more in tune with these things, I was able to, when it came to people asking me for things, asking me to do things, asking me to participate, I was able to take a lot more time with myself and really look deep down. And I didn't just consider, can my mind handle this? Can my emotions handle this? I was able to really sit and be like, can my body handle this? And not only can I handle this, do I want to handle it? And I discovered that there was so much that I just did not want to mess with. There was so many events I didn't want to participate in, so many activities I wasn't really about, so many conversations I didn't want to have. I honored my no. When someone asked me, can I do this? Can I be this? I would really look inside myself, and if that organic first mind answer was no, I honored that and I went with that and I didn't go past that. So honoring my no, honoring when my body was not feeling it, honoring when my mind, my soul, my spirit wasn't feeling it, has helped me so much in recovering and coming out of deep burnout. And point number 3, last but certainly not least, reset, revisit, reprogram. A couple months ago, when I really started thinking about this last couple months, I understood that the way that I was working, the way that I was living, the way that I was approaching life was no longer working for me. And I sat down and I went through all of the things I had going on in my life, and I looked at them all and I asked myself an honest question: do you even want to do these things? Do these things satisfy you? Do they spark joy? Do they spark a deep passion? Do they spark, curious interests? Are these things that you're actually excited about? I went through my goals that I was working towards and working on, from career goals to financial goals, mental, emotional, spiritual goals. I took a fine-tooth comb and I went through my entire life. And I asked myself, do you want these things? Do you want these people? Do you want these situations in your life? And if the answer is yes, do you need to reapproach how you are looking at these things, how you are dealing with these things, how you are interacting with these things? And that is actually one of the greatest gifts. All of these steps were important and great, but that right there, giving myself permission to pivot, giving myself permission to change it up, giving myself permission to revisit, giving myself permission to reprogram my life, allowed me to unstuck myself from old ideologies, old ideas, old standards, old things that I had been holding on to or holding myself to for years that just no longer apply, no longer are sustainable. I'm no longer interested in upholding. Regrouping, revisiting, going through my life, looking at the things that I'm doing, from social media to all of it. I looked at all of it. I looked at all of it because I recognized more than a couple months ago how I was regularly dropping the ball with my followers, how I was regularly dropping the ball with my social media, and I didn't like that. I didn't like how I wasn't showing up in authenticity, or I was authentic, but I didn't like how I was showing up sporadically. I didn't like what I was giving to everyone. And so I went through all of that, and I had to ask myself, do you even want to be here? Do you even want these things? And if so, it might be time to regroup and reapproach. And that's exactly what I did. In addition to all of this, I had to really look at, this past year and a half, 2 years, I've really understood my neurodivergent, neurospicy brain. And because I've worked to do that, I understand a lot more how my brain works. And I have figured out how to hack myself. And I've been focused on how to hack myself, how to give myself all of the accommodations, as many of the accommodations as I possibly can, so that I could get my needs met in a world that caters to neurotypical people, okay? What this means is I had to figure out literally, this took months of just observing myself without judgment, just literally observing myself and how I react to things, writing things down, looking at what has worked in the past for me, what absolutely hasn't worked, but I kept trying to make it work. I looked at, when do I work best? Like what time of day do I work best? I literally tried so many different schedules and way of working and calendars and things until I came on to a system that works for me, until I created a system that involves 2 to 3 calendars, that involves some alarms, some note apps, and some check-ins. But doing all of this and developing all of this actually allows me to sustain and maintain the type of work ethic that I want. And it allows me to accommodate the way that my brain works, okay? A lot of my burnout had to do with the fact that I, in the past, did not realize, did not have the language or the tools to understand the neurospiciness of my brain. And I was doing things that worked directly against me and the way that my brain works. So revisiting things, reprogramming myself, reapproaching my goals, reapproaching the way that I live my life has given me, it was like the final keys. Reapproaching things, giving myself permission to adapt, giving myself permission to pivot, giving myself permission to just change it up, giving myself permission not to be loyal to these things that I no longer am passionate about. All of that really was one of the final steps in helping me to walk all the way out of this burnout that I've been up under for the past 3 years. So let's talk about next steps and where I'm at now. I am in a very good space. For the first time in over 3 years, the excitement that I feel to dig into my artistry, to be all up under, inside, and all over my community, to give the capacity I have to give. When I say my fire has been restarted, my fire has been restarted. I'm in a good space. I feel all of the energy coursing through me. It feels like it felt 20 years ago, but without all the bad stuff. I feel like the first time I felt, the first time I did burlesque, the first time I did poetry, the first time I rapped, the first time I sang, it feels like I'm on the precipice of really great, amazing things. I have my focus back. I have my clarity back. I have my passion back. I have my excitement back. And I'm in a space where I demand reciprocity. I command it. Not just financially, but in every area of my life. I feel so good moving forward. And I also feel good because I can recognize symptoms of my burnout a lot quicker. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful that I am at a space that this experience has taught me what it looks like when I enter into burnout. This epiphany that I had in this last week has allowed me to go back and really retrace my steps. And I'm very clear how I got into this situation. So I'm very clear on the things that I need to do to keep myself from reaching that level of burnout again. All in all, next steps for me. Honestly, I feel like Pinky and the Brain. That's an old school cartoon. I'm dating myself, but it don't matter. What did Pinky always ask the Brain? What are we going to do today, Brain? And Brain was like, what we always do. Take over the world. That is how I feel, okay? From burlesque to this legacy artwork I've been working on for the past 5 years, to the brick and mortar businesses that I'm looking to start, to the spiritual line of products that I'm working on, to this mentorship program I've been working on. Baby, when I say I got plans, I got plans, and I have the energy to execute them. So, next steps for me, it's time to take over the world. Next steps for me, it's time to step into this power. Next steps for me, it's time to show you what I really can do. Because I haven't been fake these last 3 years. I haven't been fake these last 3 years, but baby, when I tell you I've been on low, when I tell you all that you've seen from me, I would maybe even say 4, okay? Let's go ahead and be honest. What you have gotten from me this last 4 years has been a low simmer, okay? It's been a low simmer, all right? But what I'm about to take it up to is a high boil, if you understand me, all right? It's been at a low simmer for a while, but we're about to get this party started. We about to get this party started! And all I gotta say is drink your water and eat your vegetables. And keep all hands and feet inside of this ride at all times, because it's gonna get wild. And it's gonna be fun. And that's that on that. If you made it to the end of this video, gold star for you, baby. And I mean that, because this video is way longer than I wanted it to be. But you know, I can talk and I'm gonna talk. So if you made it to the end of this video, you, my friend, are the real MVP. All I wanna say is thank you so much to my sugar honey dumplings. You guys have been beyond loyal. You guys have been beyond amazing. My following, my fans, my supporters, y'all are the best. And I just thank you so much for holding space for my humanity. Yes, I'm the goddess king. Yes, I'm the pirate captain, honey. But I'm also very human. And so I'm having a human experience out here in these streets. And I'm just happy that you hold space for me. With that being said, I'm going to let you go because this was already long enough, okay? So you know the drill. If you like what I'm doing, if you like what you see, if you're feeling any of this, if you're feeling any of me, like button, subscribe it, baby, notifications, so you can keep up with everything I'm putting down over here. And one last thing. You deserve care. You, yes, you looking at this. You deserve rest. You deserve, just because you exist. I hope you know this. And if you've forgotten, well, your favorite auntie uncle is sitting right up in your face telling you. Now, you have yourself a good morning, a good evening, a good afternoon, a good middle of the night, whenever you encounter this. You have yourself a good day. You have yourself a good week. You have yourself a good month. You have yourself a good rest of the year. You have yourself a good life. And God, Goddess, Ancestors, Loa, Orisha willing, I'm going to see you in the next video. Peace.